Hi crafters, Raquel here with Paints and Glitter. I hope that you've been enjoying this week's birthday celebration with Tonic Studios. I am coming along today with the Advent Town die set. You are going to love this set. It has 68 dies. You're going to be able to create all sorts of beautiful Christmas gifts for your loved ones. I'm going to first open this up with you and let you know what the pieces look like. And first off, look at how huge that is. I always am so very pleased with the sizes of Tonic Studios dies because you get a huge bang for your money. You also get written instructions right on your packaging, so anytime you pick up your die set, you already know that you're going to be able to follow along. Just to let you know, the size of this, according to the samples that have been made so far, are 7.9 inches by 5.9 inches as far as the tallest little house that you can make. And I'm guessing that is this square one here because it does include most of the numbers, obviously not all of them. And then that, by the way, is 200 millimeters by 150 millimeters. And what's super cute about this is that they didn't just include the houses, right? And there's two different styles that I can see right away, but they also included, I'm going to flip it this way because it's important that you see this correctly. It also comes with a little 3D tree that you can create, and I think that that's absolutely wonderful. There are trimmings. Okay, so I'm getting excited. So let's start here. Okay, so this is a square shaped house, and by the way, this little house measures 6 inches square. And I think that's a beautiful size, especially if you like to use your card bases that are 6 by 6. You're going to be able to use this as a card front. And if you want to add this little topper, you can go ahead and do that. So obviously inside of all of these little squares, that's where the little drawers are going to fit in, okay? And then up here, there's a little clock. However, you can omit the clock and just use these pieces here. There's the little tree that I mentioned, and of course, if you cut that multiple times, you can create a 3D tree. However, you don't have to. This is going to allow you to create the sides of your little boxes. And then over here, you have a little star, an angel, another shaped star, little Christmas lights, a bow, a wreath, and then the little trimmings here to get you started, as well as a little decorative piece over here. All of these are, by the way, this is one big solid piece. So it's going to allow you, and this is what's so wonderful, it's going to let you cut the big panel that you're going to need with all of the little notches for your little doors. This is genius. I love that. So thank you, Tonic, for designing it in such a clever way. Then over here, you're going to see these other pieces. This is going to be your other option here. Again, with that nice panel so that your little drawers are able to fit right in there perfectly. There's another little circle here that you can replace with the ones that I showed you over here. So there's a lot of mix and match options that you have. And then there are side panels for your house. This one goes in this direction, actually. It has the little windows. It has also another little option here for you to decorate your drawers. This medallion here, I wanted to point out, this one has a little Christmas tree and Christmas lights in the center. Super adorable. Here's another one, and this one has, it almost looks like a, it's kind of funny, it almost looks like a circus tent to me, but there is a little Christmas tree in the center of that. And then speaking of which, here are some little panels that also look like smaller little Christmas trees almost, one with a swirl, one that you can fill in with little Nuvo drops to create little Christmas lights, another one with just stripes. So if you wanted to do a candy cane version of this, you can do that. Then over here are little base panels that you're going to use, both this here, this one here, this one here. So the solid ones are your base panels. And there are, believe it or not, little bitty tiny bricks here. I can't even believe the detail. This is just amazing. And one of my favorite things about this is that it comes with the numbers. You don't have to pull out any stickers. You can just cut all of these at once and then use them on your little drawers as you wish. Also a little oval here. You could definitely add a little name in there if you wanted to, if you're going to give this away. But I am going to start cutting, slicing, dicing, and I will be back and share with you what I make. So I look forward to seeing what you make as well. Please leave me in the comments some feedback. I'm loving all of the, by the way, the comments that you guys are leaving are just so sweet. So I do thank you so much for your support. Don't forget that another way to support my channel is that you can definitely use my affiliate links. I'm always going to mention that. And this week there are some fabulous giveaways from Jody that you're not going to want to miss out on. And that's going to be when you click on the link, you can go onto the page, just scroll until you find the little button. Go ahead and enter every day. There are only, well, today and tomorrow, so don't forget to do that, and maybe you'll win some goodies. To begin the assembly of this Advent box, you're going to be using the outermost portion of this set here, and that's this solid piece. For the base pieces that you'll be cutting out, I've gone ahead and cut it out of a base cardstock 2 times, and then out of decorative paper 2 times also. Now the back is going to be super simple. Just layer your piece onto that if you're going to be using decorative paper or designer paper. And the front is going to be a little bit different. So let's go through that. You're going to cut your base piece, which will look like that or like this. And then you're going to be using this panel here. Now this panel, you're going to want all of those little half moon shapes facing to your right, okay? Now to make sure that you place this in the correct place, you're going to be using this top piece as your guide. So just go ahead and place that on top of your paper, and then you can remove it, and then this is going to give you a guideline. So this of course is going to open all of your little drawers that are going to be for your little Advent house. And then you can come back with this piece and layer it with the decorative panel here and cut out pieces using that are going to either layer here, or of course you can use this piece alone, cut into that background, and have a different look depending on what you're going for. What I've done is that I've used it 2 times. I cut it out of this gorgeous paper here, and I'll have all of the names of the papers listed in the description bar of this video. I'm going to be using this circle here, but there are other options in this set. So you can have the little Christmas tree with lights around it. There's also a singular little Christmas tree, and there's a half moon shape, so there's 2 of those, and then there's a little clock. So depending on what you're going for, you're going to be able to pick and choose. The idea, however, is that you have a circle, and then you have something decorative that you can put in the middle, and then depending on how you want that to look, you can of course layer it with a different color behind, just like that, by just cutting that singular circle there. So that's definitely up to you. It'd look really cute if you put someone's little picture in there if you're doing it for a small child. I think that would be super. What I'm going to do is I'm going to layer all of these little, what I call finicky pieces, and then I'll come back to this. Also going to get a bunch of these little layers, which is wonderful because you can use them all at once to cut out what you're going to use to decorate the front of your little box. So what I've done is that I've cut it out twice, once in this green color and the other time in the mirror cardstock that I'm using. And now what I also did is I used one of the layering pieces that you can use to emboss into your paper, and that has little stars all over it. I thought that was so pretty. So I'm going to be using that one. And what you can do is just run your paper through your die cutting machine, just like this, with the little piece right on top of your layer. And then once you run it through, you're going to get that beautiful embossed feature, which I absolutely love. You do have 11 choices, so that is quite generous, I think, to be able to decorate your box. And of course you can mix and match all of them. Now what I did with my base is that I cut it out and I cut it in half, just like that. I'll be using this as a decorative piece, so I'm just going to apply a little bit of glue here, and then this is just going to kind of extend as a little bit of a shadow behind my paper. I like doing that to give it a little bit of depth. And then now on the other side, I'll just add a little glue here, match up my little piece, and it's just a barely there type of shadow. It's not too much. And of course you could do it the other way around, which is like staggering as I did here. So it's the same concept, of course. And now I'm just gonna go ahead and add all of these little panels to my little doors that I already reinforced. Okay, I'm happy with that. I'm going to set it aside for a moment together with the back panel. And I'm going to now concentrate on the side panels of this box. You're going to cut two pieces that look like this. That's going to give you a base. And then of course you can cut it out of decorative paper and then just cut away the tabs if you want to. That's what I've done. And then you have a layering piece that you can use. And with that, you can also use this other decorative piece here. And I've got mine, I'm holding it gingerly because it's got little pieces of paper in there that I'm going to be using. But if you use those together, the layering piece and that, you can cut out a piece that looks like this, and it has these little windows and little bricks, of course, that are very decorative and remind you of an actual building. So I'm going to set this aside. And what I've done is that I've cut it out of two different kinds of cardstock. Got my mirror card, and then I've got this green. I'm going to do the same thing again, layering it together, and then some of those little window pieces I'm actually going to stick in there. So I've got quite a few of them laying around here that I'm going to try to collect, and once I have those put together, I'll come back and share with you what that looks like. But I wanted you to know that you can do it for both sides, or you can just keep the solid piece however you would like to do it. And once this is complete, then we'll start the assembly. Is that you're going to have little drawers in here into which you're going to put the goodies, right? So let's get that going so that when we start assembling this box, we have that all ready to go. So you're going to have some little panels that look like this, and you're going to be cutting those with this die set here. And you're going to have tabs on both sides, and then one tab on the top that's going to join this. So what you want to make sure is that you do burnish this very nicely on every fold. And then once you place glue here on this tab, which I'm going to do right now, you can fold that over. And if you've burnished your paper, it'll fold nicely, and that's why it's worth taking the time to do that. That way you're not struggling with folding. And just gonna press that there. And once you've done that, all of the little tabs on the sides, you're going to fold in. So these are gonna fold up. They're all valley folds, every single one. So go ahead and do that. And of course, give this time to dry. Always stress that. I want to give it time to dry. And then burnish this as well. You can flip it over if it's easier. So burnish both sides, just like that. And you're going to be left with a little piece that looks like this. And it's deep enough to fit a nice size candy in there, if that's what you wish to put in yours. And of course, you're going to need one for every single drawer. So let's go ahead and start assembling this, because you're going to place glue on these 4 tabs, just like that. And then you're going to aim at the little square that you cut out, making sure that this is nice and straight. And take a peek at this and make sure that I have my little corners perfectly met here. I think it's easier to maybe aim at one first, make sure it makes full contact, and then continue on to the next. And then use your bone folder to go ahead and start applying pressure there on all 4 sides. And if you want to, oopsie, if you want to use double-sided tape, if that's something you prefer, if you think the recipient will be gentle enough on this, then I suppose you could do that. I think I'm going to stick with glue because I want this to last. And this will create a bond with the paper once it's dry. So you're going to repeat that. Once you've got that, repeat it 3 more times and we'll come right back. To point out that sometimes if your fingers are bigger than your project and maybe you think that this is much too finicky and you can't get into those little tiny spaces, I recommend that you get a bone folder, because this is one tool that is highly just coveted in the crafting community. And the reason why is because you don't necessarily have to use it when here on the wide end of it or that pointy tip, but you can definitely just flip it over like this and use this portion of it, and it's going to fit into those tiny little spaces like that where you need to apply pressure, but maybe your hands are going to ruin the project. So the other thing is that if you're not comfortable placing glue on the little tabs, then go ahead and place your glue right on the perimeter of that little square. You don't need much, especially if you're using the deluxe adhesive. A little bit goes a long way. And you can kind of also even give it a second to set, and then grab your paper and aim it, of course, toward that little square there, because you want to make sure that this doesn't leak onto the paper. That's going to create that little opening, that little tab. So just give yourself a moment there. You can definitely flip this over as well now that the other ones are dry. And if you take your time, you'll be able to see whether or not you line that up correctly. And if you can see through it and you don't see a lot of little edges going around, then you've done a really good job. Just flip it right over and then start burnishing your piece. Of course, you can hold it down and again use the narrow edge of that tool. And if you pushed it over a little bit too much, don't worry, you can always pick it up. This gives you some a little bit of wiggle time, which is what's so great about this glue as well, is that you can kind of fiddle with it a little bit until you see that you've got it exactly where you want it, and then you can go ahead and apply pressure to your paper. And mine is a little bit askew, so I'm going to push it over, get it to line up before it dries. And you can also stick your hand in from the other side if that helps. And you can keep that little door open while you work on it. So this is probably just the more time-consuming part of this project, but it's really not that bad. Just takes a little bit of patience. And then you can go ahead and press that down. Okay, that looks good to me, and now I can check on the other side, make any little adjustments that I need to make, which is not much, because I'm okay with that. So if you have your little drawer now where you need it, you can go ahead and close that back. And now we're going to concentrate on kind of closing this up. Before I close mine, what I want to do is I want to add a decorative border here. So of course you can do that with cardstock and just cut little strips. We all have those leftover strips of paper, but I'm going to be using ribbon, and it matches perfectly and it's the perfect size. So I figured, why not? Just go ahead and add that for that extra little touch of glam that I like. And I'm going to be using my I can move on to adding the pieces that are going to surround this basically to create the box. So what I'm going to do, just to make it easier on myself, is that I'm going to take the pieces and then add them like so first. And I have a little glue string there, but I'm going to do this first, adding a side to the top. And of course you want to be mindful of the direction of your paper if you're using directional paper, and also the direction of your little windows. So pick the piece that's going to be your top and make sure that the little windows all point toward the middle. That's the best way to go about it, I think. I'm going to burnish this, make sure that this is really nice. Of my box first. This is going to go all the way around. And to make sure that I do it with the tab facing the correct way, always helps. There we go. And to line it up, of course, you can always use the grid on your mat if you happen to have one. Also comes in handy. And of course, you want to give yourself the opportunity to create a bond there with that paper. Now, what's going to be all the way around. So let's add the other piece. Now, this is the bottom, so I want my windows facing away from each other. And on here, I have my choice of whether or not I want this to be a tab, or if I want to glue it like so, I can do that too. That's up to me, but I'm going to actually cut this away. Feel more comfortable if it's not there. I'm going to do that, and then place my glue on this one, and then overlap. And I see that I made an error because I'm missing a tab here, and that's my fault because I should have used this as the top, not the bottom. So lesson learned. I don't know how I did that, but I did. Now what I'll do is that I'm going to actually place a little tab here. So I'm just going to cut a snip of paper. These things happen. Mine's going to be about that big. So I just created my own. I'm just going to add glue to one bit there. This is going to help me close this off just as if I had one. No problem. Okay. And of course you can do it with the heavyweight paper instead of the designer paper if you choose to. Now let's get that base front, if you will, and we're going to start adhering this all the way around. Okay. So what you want to do, of course, is get glue on these tabs. I think it's always best to start with the longest tabs that you have and then move on to the shorter ones. So I'm going to place mine right next to my project. It's kind of long here, but that's okay. I have enough room just to get that to aim correctly. My windows are facing up. In case I make an error, I have the opportunity to fix it before I move on. Apply glue to the base. So I already know what I'm aiming at. Bring it over. Apply pressure. And I also recommend you not put any dimensional items on this until you're done with this part, which is why I only did the flat type of decorations on mine. And then that way you don't have to worry about them getting pressed on too hard. And of course you could do this piece by piece. You don't have to do it this way. You can do one piece first, then the other. Okay. I'm just going to hold it like that. Apply pressure. Make sure it makes contact. And you have all those little boxes in the center, so that kind of gives you a little more sturdiness also, I think. You can, of course, make this just able to open on the top if you want to. You can place a little piece of Velcro here or a magnet, whatever you like. You would just have to remove one of the tabs. And now I can just meet those two corners together. Super simple. I think this would make such an adorable gift box. Even without this portion here, you could use different dies that you have in your stash and then just cut into this a different type of lid. Very, very versatile set. And go ahead and do. But now is when you can add the back. Of course, if you're going to give this away and write a message, you're going to want to do that before you apply the back here. And now you just aim and press down. Make sure your little corners are all meeting precisely where you want them to. Using this die here, you can also create a nice little edge, whether it be along the length of your little box here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to place it on top of the little ribbons that I had adhered to the front. So I think that's going to create a pretty little decoration here. So I'm going to get myself started with a little bit of hot glue there. And the little pieces I'll be able to glue back in. So I'm just going to kind of bring this all the way to the end over here. And then I can cut away the edge only because I've got already something going on over here. But I can supplement that a little bit and not press too hard, but already see the little stars that I just sprinkled in there as if I were sprinkling a little bit of seasoning on a plate. And what I'm going to do now is add adhesive here, but I'm going to pop that off. Sequins, I use the golden stars in this project. So what I did is that, as you can see here, I have a little piece of vellum to the side where I've been kind of catching them. I just stick them to my finger and try to catch them there. But I use that on my little tree, which I'm going to show you in a moment. But I'm just first going to place this here and try to make sure that's nice and centered, just like that. Then I've got these pieces here. Here's the little tree, by the way. I just sprinkled some gold beads. They're little micro beads all the way on the top there. And then what I did is that I also topped the edges off with honey gold. And then once that was applied, then I sprinkled some of the golden stars all the way around wherever they would land, and I'm quite happy with the results. And of course the little angel is golden as well, using glitter cardstock, which is also from Tonic Studios. And then here what I wanted to do was to kind of shabby this up a little bit, because I really like doing that. I did cut a piece of the Crafters Ivory White ribbon, and I also took some little bells. These are actual functioning little bells, although they're quite light in sound. And I just took some thread, and this is actually cotton thread for sewing, and I just tied a little bow there, and that's going to go right here in the center. It is a messy bow on purpose. I'm going to go ahead and place that right here. And then that just requires a tiny bit of glue there. But this set was so easy to put together, I was actually surprised. I thought it was going to be a lot more involved, and it wasn't. Sometimes a set can be a little bit intimidating at first if it's your first time playing with it, but I guarantee you that those little boxes in the middle come together so easily. And then what I did here is I also added those little Nuvo drops in the channels of that paper where it was staggered, and then that way I got that little bit of glisten on there as well. But this is going to be ultra gold, and that's okay because it's for Christmas, and what a better celebration than Christmas. So it's okay if you go a little extra with the lights and the everything else. Why not? It's a time of celebration, and for me it's my favorite time of year, of course. So I'm gonna cut this off here. Absolutely. Some little lights going around the building, so I'm gonna carry those around because they're here. So I'm just gonna bring them probably up here like that, as if they're hanging from the roof of the building. That's what I'm gonna do. Someone had to get up there and put those lights up. So you can imagine you're gonna have a lot of fun with this, depending on what you're doing. And I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. Just kind of meeting this with that previous strand, and then pointing that up like so. That's going to allow me to finish that off. And then of course I can go back with my little drops and the bows and all of that other good stuff and continue decorating the side of this box, because there are other items in this set that are going to allow you to do that. I'll share that in the final photos, but I do appreciate you having spent some time with me today to create this gorgeous little advent box. I think it's absolutely darling, and if you hear that, you might be wondering what's inside. Of course, you can share with a friend. If you have a crafty friend, you can share some little Christmas goodies there that they can use to create cards or 3D items, things like that. So that's what I put in there. I thought it would be really cute to go ahead and showcase what could fit inside. So this concludes my video. Please feel free to use my affiliate links if you would like to pick up any of the items that you see here. I'll have them listed down below. And as I always say, I thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you can be inspired and be